So, I am going to... I hate this thing. But the sound keeps dropping in and out. It's really... Hello? It's okay if you put it there. Hang on. Hello? Is it? No, see, it's not working. It's not working. You have to have it right here, like this. Like this. Like this. It's not working consistently. Let's see. If I flick my hair, it will fall off. Are we starting? Well, I can't get my glasses on now. Right. Good afternoon, lovely people. We're going to be doing long arm drawing, except that it's not really drawing because I have printed the patterns onto my piece of paper. Can you hear me? I am not exactly auditioning for Women's Hour, but something like it, hoping that I could possibly get a job as a quilting correspondent on the telly. So, we have here a mini whole cloth, which is a bit like the contemporary whole cloth that I did last year that is on this postcard. It's called Beelzebub because it is an anti-establishment whole cloth quilt. Not working microphone. I could use teacher voice instead. Hello live stream people. Hello YouTube world. So, for classes, I have done a mini version of Beelzebub, which looks like this in pink, and it's a whole cloth which has had Derwent Inktense pencils drawn all over it, and I cover it in lovely different coloured threads. Here's one I made earlier, and this is what people were working on in my classroom. But I want you to see the pink thread that I'm going to be using today, so we have a grey version instead on the frame. Now, I've been practicing my French this morning, and I don't have a batterie de cuisine, I have a batterie de chambre de couture. Are you impressed? That was probably not very correct. So, I have brought with me a box of tools that we can rummage in. I have rulers and pens and pencils to play with. Also, if I duck under here once again, excuse me, I have a large selection of thread in my box. So, I'm hoping to be able to grab lots of things from in here, including wool and lots of shiny, pretty things. Anyway, the Q24 is the machine that I love to use because it's so smooth and I can change needles and feet really easily, and it's fantastic. So the first thing I'm going to do with my machine is, by the way, not showing off or anything, but I do like to quilt one-handed. So I'm going to shove this out of the way, and now I've got easy access to doing everything. So I don't know how entertaining this is going to be for you, but I am going to be quilting, all the way around the outside. Now, I'm just about to change the programmable buttons to do what I want them to do. So I'm going to have a quick flick on the front and make sure that all the buttons on this handle are lifting the foot. I do apologise if you can't hear me on YouTube. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit of stitching around the outside. Not very entertaining, but there we are. Just to stick it onto the background of the piece that we're doing here at the show. So far, nothing showy-offy at all. And then I'll have a quick smooth down. This is called floating a quilt top. It's usually pinned onto the side, but it's only a mini one, so it's just floating on the top. There we go, it's all stable, it's not going to wriggle around. Now, I've got this delightful neon pink on here, and what I like to do is just use the machine like a giant pen to draw around things. Now, if I was actually any good at drawing, I would draw my own stuff, but I'm rubbish at drawing and art in general, so I've just printed with some Indian wood blocks. Now, this machine has the most wonderful stitch regulator. However, I'm a big fan these days of manual mode because it gives me great control. I can slow things right down, and I can just whiz around the little motifs maybe a few times. So I'm going to switch to manual mode, and the factory standard is 1,000 revs per minute, but that's much too fast. So I'm going to reduce it down to around about 500-ish. And if I want, I can speed it up or slow it down because the plus and minus speed buttons are on here. Sorry, I keep fiddling with this microphone and whatnot. So these are just Indian woodblock stamps that I have plonked onto my fabric using some fabric paint, just to give me something to draw around. Bear with me while I pick something to begin with. Okay, I might just choose this little Triskelly symbol here. Funnily enough, it's a bit of a wiggly thing. Lift up the foot to get the thread out the way. Okay, all excited, ready to go? So I'm in manual mode. I do apologize if my hand gets in the way, because I like to sometimes put my hand there to stop things bouncing around. Don't have any fancy nail polish on, sorry. Stumpy little hands, like a hobbit. Okay, gonna press go. And just nice and slowly going round the edge of the thing. Now the trick here is not to watch the needle. The trick is to look a little bit ahead of the motif. It's like driving a car. You don't watch the windscreen wipers. You watch what's going on in front of you. Now, I'm not really that worried that I've not exactly hit every bit of pink stuff. It's just a general follow round the pattern. I'm going to have a quick stop because I want to cut that bit of thread off. Oh, you probably noticed that I didn't, oops, chuck that on the floor. I didn't do the whole sew it in business. Sorry, not sorry. So round we go. Not bothered, it's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. And if you've ever watched Pirates of the Caribbean, what is it Captain Jack says? They're just guidelines anyway. Now I'm going to go around again because I can. Want it to look thicker. Now, at home, I might have put in, oops, that really went wobbly, never mind, eh? Doesn't matter. Nobody will see. They'll only see if I tell them. So here we go. Yeah, I was just saying, at home, I might be using the lovely wool thread, but wool thread is tricky. It's absolutely wonderful to use. You have to use a nice big wool needle, and you have to go super slow. So it's not the most entertaining thing to watch. And sod's law, when 25 people are standing around watching, the thread will break, and then I might use a rude word. So I'm just going to use this one. I'll show you the thread in a minute, just so that you can see. If anyone thinks I'm talking too much, that's true. I don't care. I spend most of my day alone in my workshop. I don't get out much. So just round and round and round. If I've had the odd wobble, this is the opportunity to fill in the gaps. Oh, whoops. Never mind, it's all organic, freestyly. So when I've built up enough of a pink line, I can think about doing another bit. There we go. That's probably enough. Okay, I'll just show you the wool thread if I can find it by ducking under the quilt frame and having a rummage. Bear with. So, there are a couple of companies that make wool thread for machine quilting. This happens to be the Madeira one. And, hang on, going under again. Orifil also does a very nice wool thread, and it's pretty thick. It's a 12 weight, but you do have to use a pocket, some wool needles, and I have found that wool needles from Madeira 110 or number 18 work marvellously, but you have to be aware that it's a temperamental thread and you'll have to slow down, but even so it's great fun. So if we get time later on, we might just thread that up and see how we get on. So I'm saying that I'm a bit of a cheat with the drawing front here. Very, very good at colouring in and tracing things, so don't ask me to draw ever, but I can follow lines. So I'm quite happy with that one. I'm going to go over and do this thing that looks like a little Sputnik. Scissors. Feel like a surgeon. Right, so we've got this little star-shaped Sputnik here, if you can just see it, okay? It's like a little asterisk with some blobs on the end. You have to do a little bit of counting in your head to build up the layers. I'll start round about there. So I'll bring up the thread, and when I've done a few stitches, I'll cut it off. I am not sewing in the tails of the thread. Don't tell the quilt police. Okay, so I'm going to press go, and go round and round and round and round and round and round, quite a lot of times. Like about 25 times, to make a thing that looks like a French knot. And then I go in, out, back in the middle, out. So I'm just following this little line to make it nice and thick. And then a blob on the end. Just round and round and round. Oops, I did say I was going to stop and cut that bit off, so there it is. Na quilt judges. There's the thread going on the carpet. I will hoover that later, I promise. So here we go, back in again. Out, in. I want about 4 lines of stitching to build up the texture. This is quite often a really nice place to put a metallic thread. And metallic thread works very nicely, but I thought it would be very boring for the audience if I stopped and switched needles and threads. That is the really fab thing about this machine. It is actually really easy and quick, but you know, I thought people wouldn't want to stand and watch me do that. So I'll just build up a blob here. Yes, I know my fingers are close to the foot. I'll be careful. This is foot number 72. It's a ruler foot. Oh yeah, that's true. This isn't the foot that comes as standard. I forgot that. Oops. So my thick thread has decided that it didn't want to go round and round 52,000 times, so I'll just make a quick adjustment to that. Well, what I really ought to explain is that as a long armour, I do tend to just keep a ruler foot on all the time, because it's handy. I can just go, oh, I might use a ruler for that bit there. Or I think I'll do some couching. I'll slap some couching inserts in, and we will actually be doing that. So, yes, I can change the feet very easily, but I tend to keep the ruler foot on. There. Yes, you will see, if you can bear to hang on a minute. Here we go. And off it goes again. Now, if I haven't printed a pattern on, I may have drawn it on, for instance, quite often with a friction pen or even a biro. And I'm not at all worried about those marks not disappearing, because I've generally then put on paint or so much thread that there is absolutely no possible trace of ink left. Nearly finished going around this little guy here. There's a little blob going on the end. So you can see I'm not speeding at all. It's all under control. And I think I'd like a nice big blob in the middle. And that'll probably be doing. Oops, stop. Lift the needle, lift the foot, and like this. Okay, now I can see a spot which I might like to tackle with a ruler. Carpet, nobody saw that. Now in my box of rulers, I am hoping to find a small curve, around about that kind of size. I have others. I love curves, and here's one by the lovely Lisa Kaye, in fact. I like the curved ones rather than full circles, because if you're trying to do something with a full circle, it gets a bit awkward when you get round the circle. But if you've got one with a curve like this, an inside and an outside curve, you can just flip it round. You'll see what I mean. Okay, box going under the table. Right, so we start off in the same way. I might actually not start right on the pointy bit. Bring the thread up. Like this. Could do a couple of tie-off stitches if I wanted to, but nobody's watching, so I'm not going to. Right, so what I'm going to do is use this little curved ruler and just help to guide the foot round the curve. This curve does not exactly match the curve of my stamp, but it's close enough for me to just make adjustments as I go. Now, the idea with a ruler and a ruler foot is that you have a little inward and downward pressure. Not a lot, otherwise nothing will move at all, making life quite difficult. So there we go. Oops. Oh, and I've got it in manual, which is perfectly possible, but it's probably more sensible to do it in stitch regulated mode. In fact, BSR number 2. I like BSR number 2 in my ruler work because it stops dead when I stop. So here we go. We'll just do round this little curve. And then when it looks like the curve of the ruler isn't going to match the curve of the painted shape, we just give it a wriggle round and stop like this. Now this other curve, just snip that tail off. There we go. I'm sure there are people at home going, look at that, somebody's going to have to hoover all that. So this, I've just flipped it round to the inner curve because that is easier to follow down here. So we get to about there, and then I start to think, okay, I could just adjust the curve a tiny bit. Like this. And then I'm about to go round there again and join up with where I started. Now, if I had done that with wool thread, it would be nice and thick and fuzzy. I have been known to use wool on the top and wool on the bottom, which gets very fluffy, but I do like the look of it on the back. Right, so I think I might just go round here again, because I can. And then after I've done this motif, I think we could have a little play with some funky wool. So we'll just go around here, because I like the double thread, double line look. There we go. Didn't go right on top of the other one. But as I said, it's just a guideline. Like that. Like that. Now, I've got all these little nice kind of lines, so I might just do something about that. It's kind of like a blanket stitch by hand, but of course, obviously, we're going to do it by machine. Now, I think I'm just going to switch back to manual for that. Now, if I'm doing a quilt with lots of different areas colours and lots of different threads, on my Bernina I would probably program it in so that I've got a wool program and I just have to come back and go, okay, wool runs on this speed and this tension, and it's easy to remember. So I've put it back into manual, and I'm just going to do a little bit of stitching to make it look fun. So just backwards and forwards a little bit. That one's nice and highlighted now. Here's another one. It's kind of like embroidery. Stabilizer? No, the wadding is probably sufficient. The batting. This is like a patchwork quilt top. No. I will take this piece off at the end of the show, cut it up, maybe make a bag. There we go. Yeah. Oh, for sure. I do like to use a lot of unusual threads and fabrics. This works beautifully on fake leather, for instance. Makes a very smart looking handbag. Yes, it would look great on cork. So I've now got these little tribal designs looking quite nice. If I really wanted to, I could go in and do something curly-whirly up the middle, but I think it's perfectly okay as it is. Now, who dares me to crack open the wool thread? Say me! No, actually, what I might do... they are... I drew them with a light box, in fact. I think they might have been freezer paper shapes. Right, in my pocket, I've got a packet of the wool needles that I flashed earlier. So, where's all my minions gone with my screwdriver? Bear with me one sec. Oh yeah. Okay, so I've got this nice little screwdriver here. This is for needle changing. All I have to do is this. Put it safely there. There's a spongy bit. I'll come back to that later. So this is a wool needle going in now. And it's easy peasy to put in. It's a domestic needle, except it is a big one. Hang in there. Get it there. Now, we may have to adjust the tension, but fingers crossed, we won't. So it's here, and it's very thick and fuzzy. Very thick and fuzzy, but it's very easy to mess about, change the tension on a Q24. It's all done on the touch screen. Not a big deal. And of course, when you have figured out what the optimum tension is, you just make a note, and then you can program it in, and the machine will remember that for you for the next time. So it's pretty cool. You can see how fuzzy it is. I'm going to have to trim the end to get it through the little thread guide. I might even lick it. Don't watch. Health and safety. Here we go. Right. It's big needle, big thread. It might not want to do needle threader. I'll do a bit of licking again. Oh, excuse me. Of course, if I had better glasses, I'd be able to see what I was doing. Let's just try that needle threader again. Very slowly. Come on. I know you don't want to thread up with this huge thread. This is where you need a small child with good eyesight. Okay, come on. Will it to go through? Or a young person? There we go. Right, it's in. Let's just see what happens with the tension issue. Okay, fingers crossed. Now, because I'm not sure that the tension on a new thread and a new needle will be perfect for on my little whole cloth piece, I'm just coming over to the scrap just to see if it'll behave. Now, I do like to do a lot of free motion with wool thread, but manual, and I go pretty slowly, so I'm going to knock this right back, possibly even to under 400 revs per minute. Okie doke. Let's just see what happens. Okay. Creeping along using my woolly thread. Looks like it might behave. So confident with that. I'll go on to the real piece. There we go. Scalpel. No, sorry, scissors. I would love to work in an operating theatre. I'd pass them all the wrong stuff. I'd be good at the sewing up, though. Which one should we have? Can you see this one, Emily? How's that one? Okie doke, we've got a little circle here. Now, if I wanted to, I could get a little circle template out. But I don't mind the freehand, slightly wobbly look. So we're just going to wobble around there. Ready, steady. I'll move my hand in a minute. Promise. Okay. All the way round. Past the join. Remember, I told not to tell the quilt judges this. Snip that bit off. Oops. Okay, I might go around again. Make it nice and thick. Now this one looks a bit like a sea urchin. So I'm going to go up and down all the little sea urchin spikes. Like this. I bet somebody is wondering if I can actually stand like this all day. Like for 8 to 10 hours. The answer is yes, I can. But I do also have a very nice saddle stool. And comfy shoes. So up and down all the little spines of the little sea urchin motif. If I was feeling very arty-farty, I could even put that thread on the outside and it wouldn't be a sea urchin anymore. It would be a little exploding jellyfish, which is quite fun. There we go. So I'm kind of doing 1, 2. If I had all the time in the world, I might do that even more times. It's strangely hypnotic. Minding my fingers, obviously. Wouldn't want to do that. But you can see how easy it is to drive this big machine just with one hand. My left hand isn't doing anything really, it's just kind of wafting around. I don't know what I think it's doing. Bit of smoothing maybe. There we go. Oops. Of course I didn't bother to change my bobbin thread. I have a very bright pink bobbin thread underneath. But I often will either use a bobbin fill thread, which is very thin, or I will use exactly the same thread top and bottom. It just depends kind of what I want on the back. So I'm just going round the outside of my sea urchin now. All the way round. All the way around, no ruler, just freehand. Might go around again, make it nice and thick and defined. Here we are. All the way, all the way, all the way, all the way. And then at just a certain point, I'll just stop it, come in a bit, and get rid of that tail. Now, I put 72 foot on because I keep it on most of the time because it can do ruler work. I can see it well enough to do the free motion work, and then if I really feel like it, I can rummage around in my little bag of goodies, and I hopefully might have a little gizmo like this. This tiny little thing here is called a couching insert, and what I'm going to do is take off this foot for a minute, because this thing clicks onto it like that, so it's now attached. Whoops. Now there is a gadget that comes with couching kits, usually a little spiky bit of wire for you to thread things through, but I always manage to lose it, so I have discovered that there is an alternative method. Now if I can find, oh, here we go. Got some funky, inexpensive baby wool here, where I will not be able to find the end, obviously. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why they can't sell you wool in a ball. There we go. So what I do is take just an ordinary bit of thread, tie a knot round the piece of wool, because remember, I've probably lost the threading tool somewhere. And I'm going to thread this thin thread through the couching foot hole. There we go. It's coming through, like this. And I'm going to connect the couching foot on, like this. And I'm going to unravel, yeah, look, what a mess. Just going to unravel a section of this fuzzy wool. The cheaper the better, in fact. You want it nice and fuzzy because it's a lot easier for the wool to be caught and attached to the background. Okay, where shall we put it? How about if we do a bit of ruler work around this leaf? So, no, this leaf, because then I could have a pink one here, fuzzy one, fuzzy one. Something like that. Right. This truly is showing off because I've actually got the wool thread, which is not always terribly well behaved, and I've got something fuzzy going on. So, let's see what happens. I'm going to try and get the thread up. Somebody's bound to be watching me going, what is she doing? I don't care. I don't care. Right, the idea is now that this wool has to be kept out of the way of the foot. You can all write in with postcards to advise me on how to do this correctly. No, please don't. Right, what I'm going to try and do is, hang on, let's shift this. I'm going to try and keep the ball and the wool out of the way of the ruler. It doesn't take long, you just have a practice. Okay, oh, better not be in manual, that would be a daft idea. Back into stitch regulated mode, but I will have more little stitches per inch because that will give me a better chance of catching the wool. So I've gone up to 18. Hopefully that will work. Right. Okay, ready to go and go. It's making a bit of a chunky noise because it's quite fuzzy, this wool. So just stop, adjust my ruler, check that the wool is free flowing, find the scissors which I've lost in this jumble. Didn't just chuck that thread on the floor, you didn't see that. Here we go, round to the top. I've still got a bit of thread. Get rid of that. I'm going to flip the ruler around and follow the other side of the curve. Here we go. Right, just adjust the ruler slightly, make sure the thread can still flow. There we go. And I might want to just go round on top of there again to make sure there's no gap. Now, if I really wanted to, I could go round there again, but I think what I might do, I did promise that I'd figure out how to go over this one. So let's just make our way to there. Go around this little shape. Like that, to the bottom, stop. Flip the rule around the other way. Check that we've got lots of loose thread. Trim that out of the way. If there is anything terribly thready going on at the end of my project, you know that's what beads are for, right? And buttons, that's what they were invented for. They're not for trousers and stuff like that. Here we go, all the way around until we meet the top. Now, I've still got this thread attached, so you know what? It might be quite fun just to go and do the spines with the woolly stuff, I think. So in and out. There we go. This one's multicoloured. I could just use a perfectly sensible plain colour, but where would be the fun in that? There we go. Now, I could obviously go all the way back to the beginning, or I could not, but my wool thread has decided that it's not impressed. So what I might do actually at that point is take the wool thread off and just go back to a sensible one, because it does snap very easily. Shall I do that again? Snapping. Oh, very delicate stuff it is too, whereas this one is super. Won't be long. Now, if you could stay with me all afternoon, because you were ill in bed or something, I could show you metallic thread with a metallic needle. That's if the answer to everything is not 42, the answer is to match your thread and your needle. There we go. Now I've just left the wool needle in for the time being. Should be fine. It's a bit big, but here we go. So there it was. It ended up at that point. I could just couch it all the way back to the beginning, but I think because this is multicoloured, what I will do is just snip it, and then I'll go back over here to the beginning and try and find a colour that matches the colour at the edge. So yeah, it's kind of lime green, like that. There we go. And I'm just going to try and couch down these stripes. Sorry, hand in way. There we go. This wool is so fuzzy that you can't even see what colour of sewing thread I've got coming on it. There we go. There, I think that'll do. And the other thing that I would be doing on my whole cloth is using a twin needle, but to do that I would have to make sure that I swap over to a wide stitch plate, otherwise I'll break the needle, and that would be, you know, a waste. Stick a twin needle in, follow the instructions in the manual, of course, and put in 2 threads. But not going to do that right now because we're nearly at the end of our slot. But what I might do, just to do a little bit of showing off, is show you the kind of freestyle background that I would put on a project like this. So it could be a total mishmash of stipple and swirls. So this is the bit where you put on the cheesy music and just sit back and relax. Incorporating that bit of fluff into the design. Of course. Here we go. Oh yeah, and by the way, I forgot that I'm still in manual mode on teeny tiny stitches, so I shall make a slight adjustment. Going into manual, sorry, I was in BSR on tiny stitches. I'm going back. I'm not going anywhere near 1000 because that's far too fast. Let's go round about. Let's go for a number. Any number, pick a number. 750. Let's see how that works. So this is manual now. Little bit of relaxing background quilting for you. Here we go. Some little spirally guys. Yeah. I just did it with foot 72 because it's got an insert in the bottom. So basically, when you've got a big open background like this, you could do the whole background the same, but you know that might not be hugely entertaining. There might be some good music on the radio or a play that you don't want to stop listening. So you just keep going until you fancy a little bit of a different motif, and you just go off a bit freestyle. Off-piste, I call it. Some people accuse me of never knowing when to stop. I don't know why. More is more. Always. Just go round there. So this is the sort of thing that we just do. Filling in. If I was using a twin needle at this point, I would suggest that you didn't go too small and you kept it as a nice curvy, flowy, non-geometric design. But this will fill things in quite nicely. Now this is where I could say to somebody, go and give me a cup of tea and a straw. And I could just sit here, cup of tea, until I run out of thread. And you sort of think, well, maybe I better go off and do something else, have a little wander. Some tentacle-y type things. Because, you know, do whatever you like. You would get a different look here if you chose a thread that matched the background. I dare say that if I'd thought about it, I would have stopped and taken off the couching and insert, because it's not quite so easy to see my pebbles now. But it's okay. I don't think anybody is going to complain. Now, you might think that, you know, it's only a small piece, I'll get it done in about half an hour. But at this rate, I'll probably be here for about 4. But that's okay. And I have 1 minute to go on my little demo. So I hope you've enjoyed just seeing me showing off. Do look me up on Instagram or Facebook, Linzi Upton the Quilt Vine. And I hope to see you again at another show in the future. Ta-da! Oh yeah. Great audience.